ያለን ደስ ያለን ስላደረሰን ለዚች ቀን እንኳን ደስ ያለን ለምርቃቱ ለዚች ቀን።
Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for being here today. I also want to give a special thanks to the Ethiopian community and the Ethiopian Community Center for having us back. Thank you very much. This is a very special place in our community, and for me personally, it's a particularly special place. When I was running as a candidate, I had the opportunity to spend some time here and listen to the families talk about their need for community space and claiming community space here in Seattle. And when I was sworn in as mayor, my first of 5 swearing-ins was here in this community center. And I think they like to say it was the only one that counted, but that's not true. Look, we know that our city has grown so rapidly, and so many people have been pushed out, and the community has changed in ways that I think really threatens who we are as a city. And one of the ways we reclaim that is to show as a community we will listen to community, we will raise community up, and we will follow their dreams. And part of what we're announcing today is to show that our commitment to housing is just not a generic commitment, but it is a commitment to the people and to the families that need that housing. We know that as a city of the future, we can't let communities and families be left behind. More and more, it is our communities of color who are having a hard time staying in the city or being in the city at all. More and more of our communities of color have been pushed out. When I was growing up in Seattle, the Central District was over 70% African American, over 70%. Today it's about 14%. And when I listened to the Ethiopian community here, I learned about, we have one of the richest and robust Ethiopian communities anywhere in the country. Some of them are generations old and some are newcomers. But they need a space for families to come together. And I think I saw my friend Estella Ortega here. There she is. Another thing I, campaigning really heard and saw first very closely was that need to claim for community a center and place of being. And if you look at El Centro de la Raza today, it is that place. It's a place that, years ago, people like Estella and Roberto Maestas claimed it for community. And then they decided not to let it go. That's right. And they built it into something even better and had a vision where there would be housing and community space. And I heard how hard it was to get that vision because the city was not responsive to understanding how important it was for community to form their own bonds and their own places and to make sure the community spaces and housing and places for children were in one location. And so we've listened to that and we've heard that and we know that we have to do more and do better. Working with the city council, we know that we have done a lot in the last year and the last couple of years. Just taking some stock. In the last 2 announcements under our housing levy and for affordable housing, we've announced over $700 million. $700 million. And today, I'm very excited to say the city will be able to commit over $100 million new dollars for affordable housing. And we know, working with our partners, once we're able to leverage that, that could be even hundreds of millions of more dollars of housing where we need it. This summer, we announced our Housing Seattle Now, and our city council has stepped up in so many ways to make sure that we're working together to provide housing. In the budget that we signed last month, we invested nearly $13 million in the sale from the Mercer properties to build more affordable housing. We want to make sure we have the spectrum of housing, that our neighbors who are experiencing homelessness have permanent supportive housing so they can be stabilized and integrated and stay in our communities. So the communities like the Ethiopian community, the Filipino community, can build their own community centers that have housing for their communities attached to it. So we have done a lot, but we know we need to do more. I have to thank Emily Alvarado for all the work she and everyone at the Office of Housing has done. And I see so many people here, I'd start calling everyone out by name, but for those who are in our housing development people, thank you for all you have done. For our Seattle Housing Authority, for the heads of my different departments, for those who are running some of our most difficult and largest shelters, thank you for the work all of you do to make Seattle a better place. I'm thrilled to say that we finally will be able to invest in the Ethiopian Village, which represents it is an amazing vision that the community had, and the city was able to partner with that community to realize that dream. I want to thank the Ethiopian community for insisting on that dream, for staying together and having the vision and having the patience to work with the city. I also want to thank all those who have set the bar high for those kinds of developments we know we can do. One of the projects that we will be funding also is for LGBTQ affirming housing. We know from our own studies that it is difficult for the LGBT community, particularly seniors, to have the kind of housing in their senior years that makes them feel adaptable. It's not that I'm picking out my own unit, although I might, but we know that that is yet another place in our community where there's been a gap in housing, and this is going to allow us to step up to do that. It's an important milestone for us in the efforts for affordable housing. We also know moving forward, in the coming weeks, I'll be getting the recommendations from the Affordable Middle Class Housing Advisory Board, which I put together, the council. And because we also know that those middle class families are getting pushed and squeezed out of Seattle. Our teachers, our nurses, those who work really hard every day but can't afford to live in this city, we have to change that if we want Seattle to be truly the just and equitable place that we want it to be. I want to thank our state delegation for all the work they did to advance affordable housing. I don't know if Nicole Macri or Speaker Chop is here, but if not, each of them deserve a round of applause. I also want to call out Councilmember Teresa Mosqueda, who is on maternity leave, but we were able to pass through the ability to use our sales tax to have bonds to give us more affordable housing. She advocated for an Olympia. She made sure we were one of the first to take advantage of it, and she has been a tireless advocate for affordable housing in the city of Seattle. And mostly, I also want to thank the people of Seattle. They were forward-looking enough to vote for a housing levy. And we all know we didn't do enough soon enough. But again, we are always that city that steps up and says, we will tax ourselves for those things that matter. And people saw that there was going to be a need for housing. Unfortunately, the need outstripped our capabilities, but today we take another very important step forward to fund some of the projects you're going to hear about. One of them, again, there's people in this room, I don't know if anyone is here from Africa Town, who has done a great job. There we go. And there's Joaquin over there. Who saw the importance of reclaiming community for community and making sure that it could stand up, not just housing, but commercial properties that were for the community and by the community. And so bringing together all of those interests, we really can make sure that this city remains diverse and welcoming and that people can live in every corner of this city, regardless of who they are or where they work. And with that, I'd like to turn over to my head of my Office of Housing, the amazing Emily Alvarado.
እንኳን ደስ ያለን ደስ ያለን ስላደረሰ አደረሰን ለዚች ቀን እንኳን ደስ ያለን ደስ ያለን ለምርቃቱ ለዚች ቀን እንኳን ደስ ያለን ደስ ያለን ስላደረሰን ለዚች ቀን እንኳን ደስ ያለ እንኳን ደስ ያለ ክብር ቆብን ካባ ደርበ እናት አባት ወገን አኮራን እንኳን ደስ ያለ እንኳን ደስ ያለ ክብር ቆብን ካባ ደርበ እናት አባት ወገን አኮራን ጨለማ አይምሮ ሲበራ ወገን አኮራ አእምሮ ሲበራ ወዳጁን አኮራ ትውልዱ አእምሮ ሲበራ ወገን አኮራ አእምሮ ሲበራ ወዳጁን አኮራ መማር መመራመር ደስ ሲል ሕይወት ሲያስከብር ቤተሰባችን እንዳስተማሯችን ብድር ለመክፈል ለመጦር ያብቃችን ምድር አፈሯ እንዳሳደጋችን አገራችሁን ለመጥቀም ያብቃችን ብድር ለመክፈል እግዚአብሔር ይርዳችን ለሀገር ኩራት ለመሆን ያብቃችን ለወገን ደራሽ ለመሆን ያብቃችን እንኳን ደስ አላችሁ። አዎ ወዳጅ ዘመድም እንኳን ደስ አላችሁ። ያተገበረ ተቃለ እንኳን ደስ አላችሁ። እንኳን ደስ ያለን ደስ ያለን ስላደረሰን ለዚች ቀን እንኳን ደስ ያለን ደስ ያለን ለምርቃቱ ለዚች ቀን እንኳን ደስ ያለን ደስ ያለን